Hey everybody, I'm John Granato, and that's Lance Zierlein. You can hear us mornings on the bench, and you need to hit subscribe, okay, if you want to get all of our content here at SportsMap HOU. Over the weekend, reports surfaced of the Astros meeting with Starling Marte's reps. If the Astros sign Marte, is that it on Correa? Is that because that's going to be a pretty big deal, Lance? Is that it? Carlos Correa done for sure?
Isn't it already it?
Probably.
Probably so, but Marte would mean it's it for sure. I guess I would ask this question, if it is it and it's Marte, how long is a Marte deal? Because somebody brought up a really good point today on the radio show through Twitter, and they said, you can't give Marte a very long deal. I mean, he's in his 30s, and that was one of the things with George Springer is you don't want to give him a long-term deal. You really can't get into a position where you're giving Marte a long-term deal either, because that would look a little strange, a little funny to Astros fans if you're giving him a 4-year commitment, for example. Even 4 years, granted, that's not what George got with Toronto. He got a longer deal, but it might rub some Astros fans the wrong way. How you handle losing guys like Springer and Correa, and then how you bring in guys after them, I think is really going to have an impact on maybe the way some people feel about how this team is being run right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, but every signing, I don't think you can. Yeah, and listen, you're probably not going to give him a long-term deal anyway. But every time you sign somebody, that doesn't mean that that you're anti-George Springer or anti-Carlos Correa. It's the organizations involved. So I don't know about that. I wouldn't give a 33-year-old a 4-year deal, though. That's for sure. No. Although he's stealing bases like 47 stolen bases, he's stealing them like a 20-year-old. So I don't know that I'm all that worried about Starling Marte being out of it, losing all of his skills all that soon. He seems to be doing really, really fine, and you'll do really fine if you give your car to a kid.
Carsforkids.org. Go to Cars. It's carsforkids.org does an amazing job of making sure that the Houston Can Academy is funded so that young people who need a second chance at a diploma get that chance. And, by you giving them your motorcycle, your car, your truck, whatever the case may be, they'll come out to haul it off, whether it's running or not running, and they can be involved from that point forward in getting, your property, your vehicles out and using that to fund those programs. You get a tax write-off. You can write off the car and not the kids. So this is, for some of you, your lucky day. You can have your old vehicles hauled off for free. Carsforkids.org.
So this begs the question, though. You're going to bring in a 33-year-old to play center field when you've got Jake Myers and Chas McCormick, who are young guys who showed promise. Are you giving up? Are you giving up on? Well, one of them could still be a bench guy for you, but are you giving up on the other one? And which one would you choose? Or would you prefer to just let these guys ride it out, see if they can play?
I'll be honest with you. I would be okay putting more focus on your next shortstop and then letting the young guys operate in the outfield, because Michael Brantley will be there one more year and then he'll be gone. Or I think you'd like to see if McCormick. I don't know. McCormick feels like too much of a free swinger to me, kind of a very feast or famine guy. Jake Myers looked very, very good last year, then went in a hole offensively, and then came back out of it in the playoffs before he injured himself. And then we haven't even mentioned Jose Siri, who is the third outfielder. So you have 3 guys who can play in the outfield. I don't know that it's the worst idea in the world to let your young guys play, prepare them to be in center and left field in the coming years to go along with Kyle Tucker in right field. It might make more sense doing that and spending some money in the bullpen, where James Click has said he wants to, bolster, or at shortstop, which James Click has said he wants to bolster. So I'm not sure I'm all in on Marte. The Astros are not a big base stealing team, and I think a regression to the mean. He had an unusually successful year. I don't know if that's sustainable for a 33-year-old player, over the next 2 to 3 years.
I think if you get Marte, you've got a proven major league hitter, and you can afford to put Jeremy Pena at shortstop. I don't think you can afford, if the plan is Jeremy Pena, I don't think you can afford to have unproven guys like McCormick or Myers or Siri in center field while you have an unproven guy and a catcher behind the plate who doesn't hit. I don't think you can afford to do that. So I think Marte might be a reason that you can bring up a young guy to take Carlos's place. And then like you said, how do you use them? Analytics. If you do get Marte, analytics, they don't like stolen bases. I like stolen bases, especially when you got 40. So when you're leading the league with them, you get yourself a man in scoring position. How do you think this organization would use Marte?
You have to use him to his strengths, which means he would run. Would he have the green light as often as as he had last year? I don't know if that's the case, but to me, one thing we've seen in the playoffs is getting the pieces moving, especially against these super shifts that are out there. It's not a bad idea to make defenses a little bit more uncomfortable. And we've seen the Astros will run when they need to, and they'll certainly exploit a catcher who's not a good defensive catcher. But Marte would be a little bit – he'd be the first guy since Jose Altuve when he was younger that really was a more aggressive base stealing option. Pretty amazing considering the fact he's the oldest player ever to steal 40 bases.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd lead him off. Because I want that at the top of the order. Jose Altuve is not a leadoff guy. He can't run anymore like he used to. I would lead off Marte and then see where the lineup takes you from there.